American Revolution was not about equality and justice for all. Allow me to explain. Today, many people see the revolution as something glorious and great, the patriots fighting for everyone's freedom against their evil British overlords. This is especially true in the minds of many patriotic Americans, invigorated by their politicians who argue that the revolution itself was crucial in achieving equality for everyone. I disagree. Although I think the revolution was a good thing, it shouldn't be depicted as a fight for the freedom of all, nor was it endorsed by all groups. For some living in the 13 colonies, the revolution was the complete opposite. Firstly, the American Revolution helped expand slavery. The planter slave-owning class generally supported the revolution as they were worried of legislation from the British government that could potentially limit slavery. During the revolution, escaped slaves almost always joined the Loyalists as the British Dunmore Proclamation promised them freedom. Though the British Empire had not yet abolished slavery, it had clearly taken a stance far more inclusive than the Patriots, even liberating them from their plantations during the Southern Campaign. Of course, this wasn't necessarily for righteous reasons. The British also hoped they could recruit them to their side. Despite most northern states abolishing slavery, the South saw more slaves arrive in the 2 decades following independence than in the entire colonial period prior to it. The South was now able to operate without British oversight before the transatlantic slave trade was officially banned by Congress in 1808. For the majority of slaves, the American Revolution was not about freedom, but oppression. For the Patriots, the revolution was not only an act of independence, but of hypocrisy. Many justifications for revolution stem from ideas of liberty, and yet they did not bat an eye when it came to the pleas of slaves. Secondly, there was the case of Native Americans. Not only did the revolution see the destruction of native villages by both sides, but it also changed how they were treated by authorities. Under British rule, the expansion of colonists to the west was banned by the 1763 Royal Proclamation, in turn protecting native populations. But after independence, the proclamation became null and void, with American colonists moving west in large numbers, whose racist ideologies caused the extermination of native populations and the conquest of their lands. For the indigenous, the revolution was not freedom, it was death. Thirdly, loyalty to the British was far more common than many believe. 20% of those of European descent were loyalists, whether it be minorities like the Dutch in New York, the Scots in New England, or those from the lower classes, since a large portion of the Patriots were landowning wealthy people. In New York, for example, Robert Livingston owned a lot of land and leased it to tenants. Landlords like Livingston were often abusive with high rents and strict terms, and were protected by a court system that they greatly influenced, turning many of their tenants to the Loyalist cause. This idea of sidelining the poor becomes more prominent with the creation of the US government. It was not representative of the people, as only a small group of landowning white men could vote. Additionally, economic policies following the revolution saw continued favoritism for the wealthy and mistreatment for the poor, even culminating in Shays' Rebellion in 1786. For a revolution based on criticism of the monarchy and too much power being in the hands of certain people, it sure did not do too much to change that. Although obviously this did improve with time, the revolution itself did not create a representative republic, focusing more on the control of the few. So do I believe that the American Revolution was all bad? No. The development of a republic in such an early time, fighting against the largest empire in the world which siphoned money without providing representation, are all good things. It would be hard to imagine the world today without the revolution, and how it has inspired many to fight for liberty and against tyranny. I want to make this clear. I do not think that the American Revolution was only bad, just flawed in many ways, which need to be addressed. We simply need to reshape the way that we think of the revolution, that it was not just a fight for independence, but also to the benefit of certain people, like the wealthy, and to the detriment of others, like the lower classes, slaves, and the indigenous. The American Revolution was not a unified fight of colonists against the British. It was in many ways a civil war, with Americans on both sides fighting for their own interests.